Are you happy with the big three? We'll discuss more right here on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On 76ers. We're your host, Keith Pompey, 76ers beat writer. I'm Kayla, Santiago, sideline reporter for the Delaware Blue Coast, 76ers NBA G League affiliate. If you're watching us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. In addition to checking us out on our free daily newsletter on LockedOnDaily.com. So let us know how you're feeling about the big three in the comments, and we're going to give our thoughts here. So, Keith, fans not too happy with Paul George. They're not happy with Joel Embiid. Frankly, I'm in agreement. I'm only happy with Tyrese Maxey after what we saw a season ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where this is all expected. Because let's face it, you look at Joel Embiid, a lot of people are frustrated. I mean, people are frustrated because from the beginning, it was one of those things where he played in the Olympics. He wasn't ready to play in the beginning of the season. He only played a handful of games. And then all of a sudden, it's like people are waiting for him to have some type of procedure. And then weeks go by and then he has it. So you understand that. But also you understand why they're upset with PG is because they look at him and they thought he was going to be more productive. And then he was having a podcast. He was doing all these other things. And now he only plays 41 games. And he didn't play as well as advertised. Let's just say that, right? So when you factor that in, people are looking at these two guys and they're tired of Joel and they're looking at Paul George and they feel like they were duped. So yes, I can understand wholeheartedly why the fan base is a little upset right now with those two.
And I want to take away the name Big Three until the 76ers earn it. Now, I get it. You bring in Paul George to combine them with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, and that's what you're hoping to accomplish for the 76ers. Clearly, last year it didn't work out. But Tyrese Maxey is the player, to me, that grew so much over the season and went through so much over the season. You not only knew what you're getting from him, the energy, being able to score, being able to do a lot of different things for the 76ers, in addition to having that leadership, calling out the franchise player, which I know he shouldn't have to do, but doing that in the locker room, showing which direction he wants to be able to take this team. So for me, they don't deserve the name Big Three right now until they earn it next year. If that ends up happening, if this core stays together, which it looks like it will, to me, I think they should take it another year. But at the same time, I think Tyrese Maxey is the only one that kind of deserves his flowers from this past season. And Joel Embiid and Paul George, they've got a lot to prove, especially in Joel Embiid's case. He got drafted by the 76ers. He's played on the 76ers his career. Yes, he's played through injuries. He's had a broken face. He's had a broken thumb. I get it. And he always talks about those things. But at the same time, he's done a lot to prove to the city as well that it's not just injury-prone Joel Embiid. That's how we're going to remember him for the rest of his career.
Yeah, but here's the problem with this. No matter how well Tyrese Maxey plays, he can't lead them to a championship unless it's Joel. Unfortunately for the 76ers fan base, and unfortunately for everyone, the reality is that this team isn't going anywhere without a dominant Joel. As good as Tyrese Maxey played, and I'll give him some flowers and stuff like that and stretches, they had a losing record. They were struggling without, you know what I'm saying? So, like, they played the game. So that's the problem. Now, the one thing is with Joel, before he was injured, he scored 70 points, a franchise record. He was the MVP the year before that. Last year, we were talking about he was putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers. And what he does is, when we look at it, when Joel is playing well, Maxey is playing well. Because what happens is it frees stuff up for Tyrese. So, the one thing is, Joel needs to get better. He needs to do a lot of things. But at the same time, I think it's unfortunate because his father, Tom, and maybe he may not ever be the same player. But I'm telling you, like, a lot of people are saying, like, Tyrese. And again, I'm saying Tyrese is great, but the one thing I'm gonna say is he's not going to be able to get this team over the hump without Joel Embiid unless they go out there and get someone who can dominate on the same level as Joel, if that makes sense.
And I don't think they're going to have enough resources really to bring that in. That's a really good point because, you and I have talked about, we know Joel Embiid has to be dominant. That's point blank. That's obvious. That's how it has to go. But if you take Joel Embiid off this team, Tyrese Maxey is good. Maybe if you have a healthy Paul George, a healthy Jaron McCain, if you bring Quentin Grimes back, if Kelly Oubre plays up to that level, you bring somebody else that can play with you in, maybe you're a play-in team, but you're not the level you could be without Joel Embiid. So with Joel Embiid right now, getting back to that form, that is the biggest thing. And we talked about this, so we're not going to repeat it, but that's just the biggest unknown, is Joel Embiid is the centerpiece of all this. The team is built around him. And honestly, there's zero trade value from that standpoint if you're trying to bring somebody else in, if you're trying to bring somebody of big caliber in. Tyrese Maxey is a really good player, but if you want to build around Tyrese Maxey, you need to make it his team. And Keith, to me, they're at least still 2 years away from that because nobody's going to want Joel Embiid and all that contract and all that headache right now.
Yeah, but I just don't think that the way this team is built, constructed, like everything, I don't think that this is, let's look at it early on. Joel Embiid didn't play early on. Paul George was injured early on. The team was 2-12. They had the worst record. Now, again, they did play well during certain stretches, but then it all just fell apart, unfortunately, But see, to me, the big thing is, I think the story is right now, is that a lot of people are just tired of the Sixers. So when you look at it, a lot of people are upset with Joel Embiid. A lot of people are upset with Paul George. But really, I think the person that they're really upset with is Daryl Morey, because you can't blame Paul George for coming here to get the bag when no other team. Now, the Golden State Warriors wanted to trade for him. They were going to do a sign and trade for him, but there was no other team in free agency that was willing to give him that fourth year. There was just none. And Golden State didn't have the money to do it, right? So the Sixers outbid it themselves. So then when you look at Joel Embiid, if you know that your knee is having problems, and I'm pretty sure he had to know that his knee was having problems, and Daryl Morey says, "Hey, you want to do the extension now? You want to wait?" Well, and if Joel was healthy, it would be smart to do it this year, but he wasn't healthy. So when the fans are upset with them, the person that you really got to be upset with is the front office or Daryl Morey, because he is the one that said, you know what, we're going to swing for the fences and we're going to get Paul George. And I don't know too many players is going to turn down $211 million at 34 years old, about to be 35. And I don't know another player whose knee is banged up and you're going to give him an extension and you got 2 years left, but that person is going to give you an extension for 190 something, 3 years, 190 something. So while the fans are upset with Joel and they're upset with PG, I think they need to be upset with Daryl Morey.
I think it comes down to this too. If you're a 76ers lifelong fan, the last time you had a superstar was back when Allen Iverson played, when he brought them to the finals in 2001, right? You go through the years of Drew Holiday, Andre Iguodala, Elton Brand, Spencer Hawes, all those years. Then you get to a point of, oh, Joel Embiid, the next big thing, drafted, hurt. Okay, what are we going to get from him? You finally see him play. He wins an MVP, has a 70-point game, this, that, and the other. So some people might be looking at Joel Embiid at fault. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have any fault, right? Because there's definitely the Olympic situation. Probably should not have played in the Olympics, and we've said that before. But at the same time, I think, Keith, people tend to overlook Daryl Morey because they're so stuck on Joel Embiid is supposed to be the superstar to get them to the finals, and he's getting chance after chance after chance and can't do it. And I think some people are starting to blame him now versus back when it was James Harden or Ben Simmons. Those guys were getting a little bit more of the blame.
Yeah, he's going to get blamed. I mean, he's going to get blamed because, like when we look at it from a cultural standpoint, like what's the common denominator? It's Joel, right? Joel has yet to be healthy. He has yet to finish a season healthy. So I understand that. The only thing that I'm saying is it's like, Joel only played in 39 games, but at the same time, you give him that money, right? He only played in 39 games. And when he came back in the playoffs, think about how many times he fell down and grabbed that knee. And everybody's like, oh, it's just mental. It's just mental. Think of how when he was in the Olympics, he had one game that he looked really good at. One game. They looked really good. At other games, you're like, yo, the lateral movement isn't there. So all I'm saying is it's kind of like, yes, people want a superstar. Joel is a superstar. He was. But he's an injury-prone superstar. But they paid him that money. And Daryl Morey said the reason why he paid him that money was because he wanted Paul George to come and have somebody here during that duration. Well, Joel had 2 years left on his contract.
Right.
So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yo, what
math ain't mathin'. Yeah, right.
So that's what it is.
Yeah, the math ain't mathin' to me on that for Daryl Morey either, because I don't necessarily see Paul George turning that deal down, even if Joel Embiid has an extension or not. But that's just me on my end from that standpoint, because Joel Embiid was still there, still had time left on his contract. So nevertheless, the big three to me needs to earn that name back again in the 2025-26 season. Looking ahead to that. But we've been talking a lot about the big three throughout the end of the year on Locked On 76ers. We're going to jump in to some other players that really made a difference. It could be a really big benefit coming into the 76ers next year. So we're going to touch on that and more on the other side on Locked On 76ers. And if you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about it. When was the last time you had a service emergency? And if the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. That's why you need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications all through an app on your phone number. How do you usually manage business calls when you're away from your desk? Would having one app for both calls and text simplify things? With Open Phone, you can manage business calls and text from one singular app. What would it be like to consolidate everything into one? How do you keep track of customer calls, now, notes, memory, and a spreadsheet? Open Phone provides AI-powered call transcripts and summaries. Think about how that might change your workflow. Open Phone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you're switching from another service, Open Phone will even port your existing numbers over with no extra charge. Open Phone, no missed calls and no missed customers. And did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire Stick TV 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you are ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports, College Football 25 to Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. Latest technology for elevated playing with Wi-Fi 6/6E and auto mode advanced technology. Fire TV Stick delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds you need to stay competitive. Endless entertainment with 4K streaming. Watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Affordable and portable gaming. Play high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost and a console. Already have a console, a Fire Stick TV 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your or your kids' games wherever you plug in. Hosts with hardcore gaming experience can share their experience and how Fire Stick TV and can be a game changer. And with a casual and little gaming experience, they can share that this can be a great option to start playing Xbox. In addition to no gaming or interest or experience, they can also share how Fire Stick TV provides them with other great entertainment choices. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire Stick TV 4K, second gen, Fire Stick TV 4K Max, first and second gen, and Fire TV Cube third gen as well. So make sure you go check it out today. All right, before we get to some other players that joined the 76ers this season, let's discuss the fourth true option here for the Philadelphia 76ers. Because before this podcast, you made a great point that Kelly Oubre is somebody we really haven't touched on, right? He hasn't played towards the end of the season, kind of forgot about him, not forgot about him, but Quentin Grimes kind of has been the guy that we've been harping on, this, that, and the other. Kelly Oubre, I have really liked since the Sixers signed him. He's played a really big role for the 76ers, and he may even have a bigger role if Paul George continues to struggle, Keith, on this roster.
Yeah, I think, see, here's the thing with Kelly Oubre. We look at Kelly Oubre, it's funny because, Kelly and PG are the same height. Like, or at least, Kelly's 6'8". No one actually looks at him and says, oh, this guy is 6'8". But he's 6'8", he's probably 210. He's listed at 203, but he looked like he's a little bit bigger than that. But the thing is, the reason why he's so vital, and when we look at Kelly Oubre, you're not going to say, okay, Kelly's going to lead the team in scoring, or Kelly's going to be the second leading scorer. But what he does is he has a knack of being able to play without the ball. He cuts to the basket. He grabs a lot of rebounds. He can play the guard spot, and he can play the small forward spot. He's extremely vital to them. And when you have a big three, so I know you're saying you're not calling them a big three.
I'm not.
But if you call them, I'm calling big three because they're getting paid big three salary, right?
That's true. Good point.
You got three max players. So what happens is, and they're also going to be the focal point of everything that the Sixers do right now. So when you have you need a guy who doesn't have any plays ran for him and can play defense and do everything. Before he was injured, he was one of the league leaders in deflections, right? Mm-hmm. He did a lot of different things that they want. Now, the one thing is, I'm going to say that Kelly is motivated for next year because he felt like the media, the fans, everyone got off the bandwagon. And he's like, I got to bring my swag back. And he's talking about how he's going to get out there and he's going to work hard. He's going to do a lot of things. Now, the one thing that Kelly needs to work on, though, is he has to shoot better. Kelly averaged 15 points, 15.4 points this past season, which is tied for his third highest, his average, but he shot 29% from three. So what he needs to do is he needs to work on that three. Now, he was saying that he was having problems with his thumb, which he had operated on when he played for the Charlotte Hornets. And that stuff has been reoccurring for him, the problems. So with that being said, this is going to be a great summer for him to improve his shot and get his swag back.
The one thing with that swagger too with Kelly Oubre, he just always is bringing the energy. And I think on a team that we saw last year, he's consistently bringing the energy. He's diving on the floor. He's doing all the little things that you need him to do. And he wants to be there. He wants to play. He wants to go in and make a difference. And when you have a team that is supposed to have three legitimate scorers in Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey, yeah, your scoring options are going to go down significantly, whether you're the fourth, the fifth, the sixth option at the end of the day. So Kelly Oubre is the perfect player in this lineup, in the starting five, to be able to add to that, to bring the little things that he does. And that is huge for this team. I've really liked Kelly Oubre ever since the 76ers were able to pick him up. And I'm excited to see what he can do, comes back healthy, has a good summer, goes back into this lineup and has another big year. So Kelly Oubre is definitely another player. We kind of got away from talking about him because we've been talking about a lot of players that had auditions and interviews towards the end of the season. But Kelly Oubre is the guy that you really can depend on to do all of those little things. If Tyrese Maxey is having a big night, if Paul George is having a big night, or if Joel Embiid is too, is what you're hoping with the 76ers will look like next season. So Kelly Oubre, a big part of that starting five, and he will continue to be a big part as well coming up next season. But I want to dive into Quentin Grimes and Justin Edwards a little bit on the other side, because what we're hearing from Quentin Grimes is everything you want to hear. I want to be in Philly. I have the chemistry. I feel like I've been here for a year. Those are big things. But how well does he really fit with this team next season? We'll touch on that and more when we come back right here on Locked On 76ers. And we have to tell you about Skims. So Skims are no longer just for women. They are also named for men as well. What you can do if you play sports and you want something underneath, this was a really good opportunity to be able to get that. If you want to get a gift for friends or family or significant other, you can get it from Skims. And it has great fit, comfort, and just finding the right style as well. Skims has been able to change all of that to benefit men and women. Their men's line offers a little bit of something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with a perfect balance of comfort and style. The Skims, you have an opportunity to get anything you want. They're perfect for your active lifestyle. They have a little bit with a move with me feature. They never lose their shape, and everything in between stay in place all day. Whether you're working out or just running errands, or you're just doing your day-to-day activities, Skims is perfect for you. The lightweight material as well feels amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com/lockedonnba and Skims stores. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, make sure you select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. Once again, let them know that we sent you. Go to skims.com/lockedonnba to go check it all out today. So, you know how I feel about Quentin Grimes. I love him with the Philadelphia 76ers. I would love him being added into the lineup. And he kind of follows suit and also says that he really felt that he ended the season on a good note. He could be another offensive threat. Realistically, Keith, we've touched on this a little bit at the end of the season. How well does he fit? Do you see him being a 6th, 7th option? Because Quentin Grimes, other teams are definitely going to be interested in looking at him, especially how he played at the end of the Sixers season. But I do feel that there's a place for him on the 76ers team. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's definitely a place for him on the team. I think he'll be higher than the 6th or 7th option. I see him. It's like when we talk about Kelly Oubre, the versatility that he has in regards to, being able to, score and impact the game without getting plays ran for him. I think Quentin Grimes' role is going to be similar, but it's going to be different. And different in the aspect of where Kelly, you're going to ask him to be in the dunker position at times. You're going to ask him to cut to the basket and crash the boards. Quentin, you're going to look for him to handle the ball at times. You're going to look for him to display his perimeter game and shoot the ball, right? You want him to defend too. So I think that he'll fit in perfectly. The big question is just, but how much of a role will he have? Because in the perfect world, and even if it's not 100% perfect, like I believe that Joel Embiid and Paul George are going to be more involved offensively. And let's face it, these are one guy's a 7-time All-Star, former MVP. The other guy is is a 9-time All-Star. So they're basically at the top of the food chain, so to speak. So when it comes down to Quentin, it's just a matter of how many touches and can he fit into the role, because his role is going to be closer to what George Niang said in regards to, bruh, you might be over in the corner, right, at times. So, my thing is in plus so here's the thing. People always say that I love it here. This is where I want to be. yada yada, because you don't want to burn bridges, right? But then it comes down to it is we'll really find out how much he loves it depending on how Nick Nurse utilizes him next year.
And I think that's the biggest thing, because you don't want to be standing in the corner like we saw Paul George last season, where you can't be effective, where you come in. Obviously, Paul George is going to get a lot of minutes, but for Quentin Grimes, you come in, you can't be effective. You know, he's not going to have 30 points every single game like we saw at the end of the year. He was playing with the G League roster. Great for him to be able to do that, and he showed a lot of promise. But that's not going to be the reality when you have a team of Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey. But what you can do is you can add your skill set to the Philadelphia 76ers in addition to that. And I do like his point of just another offensive threat, another offensive weapon. But how does that work when you're not getting as many touches? How accurate can you be when you're not getting as many shots up? So that's going to be one of those wait and see things as well. I really like Quentin Grimes. I hope the 76ers are able to keep him and another team doesn't come up and get him away. But at the same time, I do enjoy what Quentin Grimes is able to bring. And I do think that he can be effective with the Philadelphia 76ers. On another note, before we send things off to Justin Edwards, such just a great story with him this season as we recap how it went. Starts as a two-way, went undrafted at Kentucky, but was a really good high school player. And he really didn't have a great college campaign, but he had a really, really good high school career. At Kentucky, you could see what it do. You could see his potential. He averaged 10 points per game with the Philadelphia 76ers. And the biggest thing, Keith, that able to get from Edwards, that he wants to change his body. His goal is to get a consistent jump shot. And those are the things that he's going to be looked at to do a little bit more, because it's kind of in the same boat as Quentin Grimes. You keep Justin Edwards on this team, where will he be effective? He's not going to get as many shots. He's not going to get as many opportunities as he did on a G League roster with the Philadelphia 76ers. But when you bring him in, if you can get consistency in that shot, you're going to be much more effective with the 76ers roster going into 2025, 2026.
Yeah, the Justin Edwards thing is I mean, that's another wait and see thing, because when you look at it, so let's go here right now. So you got Tyrese Maxey, right?
Yep.
You have Kelly Oubre, you have Paul George, you have Joel Embiid, right? So let's just say Quentin Grimes is a starter. Right. So then you have Quentin Grimes. So that's 5 players right there. Then you probably have Andre Drummond as a backup center, right? Okay. So then you have who is it? Jared McCain. So that's 7 right there. So then you're saying, okay, Justin, you may be the 8th guy, or you may be the 9th guy. You know what I mean? Because right. You know, a lot of the stuff that he did, and don't get me wrong, he was impressive when he came in and he played a vital role. But a lot of his minutes came from because guys were banged up and injured. And he went in there and he showed what he could do. I think that he could play. It's just a matter of like how many minutes that you want. Because the thing is, he played nicely around, next to Paul George. He also played pretty good when he was in there with Kelly and all those other guys. But I feel like when you have, he is a wing, but when you have Quentin, you have Tyrese, you have Kelly, you have Paul, right? And we don't know who they're going to draft. Let's just say they don't get the first pick, even if they do, then is that how is that going to eat into his minutes? So to me, his role is the big unknown, and like him and a guy like Adem Bona is as dominant as they were, or productive. I'm not going to say dominant, as productive they were in those last 10 games. You really don't know anything, but because they're not going to be looked upon as like key rotation players, so to speak. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest question to me is, you know, we got to wait and see what how the Sixers look like, because especially if Paul and Quentin comes back and Kelly's playing at a high level, because they're all in Yabu. You know, they're all like the guys who are going to be in the wing positions. Not Yabu, but but you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a good point to bring in the realist side of it too, of Justin Edwards. You know, he's not going to see as much time as we saw him, but I was just really impressed because he is undrafted. He's a two-way player, then works up on a full contract. Now, granted, if the 76ers were good and they made the playoffs, we probably wouldn't see Justin Edwards. We'd probably see him sit with the 76ers on the bench as that two-way contract. I don't know how much we would actually see him, but he got an opportunity to play against some NBA competition, some NBA games. I think he fits in very nicely off the bench. Once again, how productive will he be coming off the bench? A lot less touches, a lot less minutes per game. But I do think that what you're looking at right now, depending what the 76ers do in this offseason, you do have a deeper bench than what you had last year. You have more of a youthful bench of what you had last year. I know, we talked about Eric Gordon starting out the season last year, Reggie Jackson, things like that, but you have a lot more youth on your side if you're looking at the 76ers going into the summer and the preseason and the regular season and everything in between from there. So that's what I like. That's the positive take I'm going with for the 76ers. But we're going to continue to really just break down everything off season as the NBA play-in is happening. We know some former Sixers are in the play-in tournament, so we keep it up on that as well. But the 76ers, we will keep you updated all off season long on all the things happening Philadelphia 76ers. And we know the playoffs are out of reach, but you can still follow us with off-season news, draft coverage, and expert analysis by subscribing to Locked On 76ers. You can win some prizes as well up to April 30th. A $2,500 Best Buy gift card to upgrade your sports cave, a $300 Game Time gift card, and a $200 Fanatics gift card as well. Make sure you subscribe to enter today by clicking the link in the description, and make sure you go check out the LockedOnDaily.com free daily newsletter of Locked On 76ers. For Keith Pompey, I'm Kayla Santiago saying so long this time around, and we'll see you guys next time right here on Locked On 76ers.